Hey everyone, this is Adrian with Pew Pew Podcast here at Comikaze 2015. I'm sitting here with David Lawrence of Yoric, which is a brand new software developed to help for anybody to start writing and actually cranking out scripts for movies and things like that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure, it's a new visual data-driven workflow for writers and story composers, and what we found was that the technological revolution that was coming to content creation was really starting at camera on or computer on, but that the story development workflow was still very analog, very fractured, and leaving writers behind without any data-driven tools. So with Yoric Story Composer, that's what we've built, a data-driven workflow for development.
Now, with data-driven, we're talking now in a script. What used to be having to go and search through a script for certain things, we're talking now you have data points, easy reference points now in which you can look at a script and go, here's the conflict, here's an introduction of a character, this and that. How does this help writers out, especially if like new writers coming in? I mean, how is this going to help? That's very interesting. Talk more about that.
Sure. The educational component is based off Stanislavski's beat theory. The codification of drama is nothing new. Elizabethan structure, 3-act structure, the hero's journeys, all tragedy, comedy, all those different things are a codification of drama. And so what we've done is we've now taken those and made them into visual tools. And so by interacting with it, any actions that you take, you are having to make clear choices about what is the general dramatic construct of this moment? Where do I want to deliver the audience emotionally? And it's not in just your head, but you can visually see it. Others can look and see, oh, this is what you meant. And then you can debate whether or not that was successful. But clarity of intent, clarity of intent for drama, I think is really important, that writers are making choices as they move through their story worlds and not simply just writing.
The other great thing about this that we're checking out is you're able to organize, say, your universe that you're writing in, planets, locations, even the breakdown of, say, a house. All those things are you can reference and whatnot. Now, when somebody's doing this, is it almost an on-rails experience? And when they finish up, when they export, is that you get that RTF? It's a script. They didn't try, but the software did the work for them. Is that correct?
Yes. So what you do is you have to go in, you have to make those choices, you build out and structure your content, but the tedium of actually going in, setting your margins, and building out what I've always found screenplays to be a very obtuse conceptual document that really is fairly ill-suited to the production of media. So what we've tried to do is take that part out of it and say screenplays are the industry standard, and we're certainly not going to change that overnight. So what we're going to do is give you a revolutionary way to organize yourself and then get that script out. So we get rid of the tedium of actual sitting inside of a screenplay, fighting the blank page, and just what I found was that writers have been left with nothing but descriptive text. And if you go anywhere else in the production workflow, every single other department has real tools, has a toolkit. And so we want to bring a real and true data-driven toolkit to the story development workflow.
Is the focus right now solely on movie scripts, or what is Yoric able to do currently, and what are plans for it in the future?
The idea, right now, it does export. The RTF is a screenplay export. However, the idea behind Yoric was that intellectual property itself needed a proprietary platform. That before you decide what type of media you're going to produce, media is manufacturing, it is a manufacturing workflow, and before you take your story into that real world where it starts to hit all of that different, friction of sort of entering into the real world, you need a place where you can set all of the different things, have a compendium for your intellectual property universe before you try and make it into anything else. What happened in the world? What happened first? What happened second? Which characters are dominating it? How much content do they, do they own inside the story world? How long is Act 1 versus Act 3? Those sorts of things allow writers to go in and then make inference as to, is this the composition they were trying to resolve?
It's, you think about, say, things like Star Wars and whatnot. There must have been a Bible somewhere where they were trying to keep track of it. And this just seems to, let's get it off paper, let's get it out of these areas that we're just forgetting about when we start this far into the story, and we're going to forget about these things, where Yoric seems to be able to go, no, that's not the characters, that's not, it's his motivation or whatnot. It's all because of the data points and how clear they are to
And
you.
it's searchable, right?
Right.
You don't have to go and wander through 700 pages of whatever. You can click through, you can find that character, you can reference that character, you can scope the data. I think that's really important. One of the universes that I'm always looking at is Doctor Who. It is rare currently to have a 75-year-old television show, right? That's unique. They've been working on that intellectual property for 75 years. Well, that's a big system. You need to be able to see it. And so that's what we're trying to do. I heard an interview with Margaret Atwood, and she was talking about finishing the Mad Adam trilogy. And she said that it was really hard because it was so long and she had to keep it all in her head. If a writer the caliber of Margaret Atwood is having trouble, then what chance do the rest of us have? And that means that the workflow is broken. Absolutely. And it needs new tools.
What's your background? Why are you so well versed in this? How long have you been in this industry? And obviously there's something there. That's why we have Yoric today, correct?
It's true. I went to William & Mary. I got a degree in cultural analysis and focused on film and American art. I went to film school at an MFA program for a year before I was recruited into studio development. I worked at a couple of the major studios and a couple of boutique companies. My wife also worked in studio development. She was in legal at Comedy Central. And then I had a series of projects that got me meetings and things. But as I continued to develop the product, and I thought that it was getting better, it kept getting longer, and so my meetings kept going worse. And I thought, gosh, I can't show a development producer what I mean, and they're sure as heck not going to sit down and read 200 pages. So everything, one of the reasons for me was I was looking at development producers who had stacks and stacks of scripts and, iPads that were running out of memory because they have so many screenplays on them, and they're not reading any of them because they don't actually have the time. So the time waste and the drag in story development is because of that descriptive text. But if you go into Yoric as a development producer and you go into Beat View, you can very, very quickly see, okay, I see where the story goes, I see what it means. You can wander into the characters and get those backstories. You aren't locked into what the writer is forcing you to do, especially if you have a writer that you've never met before, right? And I think that one of the things that's really great about that is if you can speed up the development process for producers, then you can open them up to content creators that they don't already know. Because it's a lot faster to look at work based on merit, based on interest, scoping it by genre, those sorts of things, without having to read a bunch of scripts. And also, the waste of then assigning all of your assistants to read the scripts and offer coverage back. They're entire companies, and that's all they're doing. They may have a big, major, studio deal or comic book deal or whatever intellectual property that they're pushing. But a huge part of that development is just assignments of scripts down and coverage back, and streamlining that workflow, I think, is going to be a revolution. And I think it's going to be an entire ecosystem. Yoric will be part of this new ecosystem of tools where, we're finding little digital tools popping up all over the workflow. People solving shots for a day's set of shots that keeps you on track, different production management tools, different abilities to go search for casting. This is going to go and seep into every aspect of content creation, and we're going to be able to pick and choose and snap together whatever tools that we like to get our content out.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. 30-day free trial, no credit card required, which seems like a rarity nowadays. But after the 30 days, people fall in love with it. What's the price point on this?
For a 2-project maximum, after 30 days, it's $3 a month. For up to 20 projects, it's $8 a month. And the reason that we kept the paywall so low is we really feel like writers have been left behind. And putting an enormous paywall up in front of revolutionary tools is just going to keep them behind too, right? When you're writing spec, it's not for the money. It's for the love of the game. You have a drive, you have a passion, there's a story inside of you, and you want to get it out because you're excited about it. Having a set of tools that doesn't force you to put up a huge amount of money first, we thought that was really important.
And this is all cloud-based storage. I mean, as far as I can access it on a browser from any computer, really?
Any computer, any major browser. Actually, I got the black screen of death on my laptop this morning. And 6 months ago, before we launched I would have not been able to work on my content. But now that it's all stored on the cloud, I don't have to worry about it. I hop on any other machine and I can keep going.
Lastly, future plans for this? I know we were talking earlier, and we were talking about maybe going into comics. And can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. We're going to be turning on a live collaboration feature first part of next year that's going to allow multiple people to come on and work on the same project together. The other thing is there's going to be a really revolutionary comic book script export that we're going to debut at Comic-Con 2016. And it's going to allow you to take the same document that you've created and be able to set page and panel and also get a comic book script out of it without having to go back and write it from scratch.
It's very, very cool. The company, again, Yoric, and they can find you where online?
It's yoric.co, YORIC.co, or just Yoric Story Composer into Google.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Again, the company is Yoric. Check it out. We'll have the link, of course, in the show notes, whatnot. Adrian from Pew Pew Podcast here with Yoric. Thanks so much for watching.